This was tough. Now then, guys, QUINNSDUDE back with you here on the Rad Music Chat channel. Thank you so much for being here. If you are new here, please hit the subscribe, and if you enjoy the video at the end, down below is the thumbs up. Be really cool if you would hit that and show your appreciation. So what are we looking at today? We're going to jump into a more modern entry from the 1001 Albums You Must Hear Before You Die book, and we're going to look at, from March the 15th 2015, the third album by West Coast rapper Kendrick Lamar. This was released on Dr. Dre's highly exclusive Aftermath Records, and is highly critically acclaimed. This could be the toughest album that I've had to review. Funnily enough, on paper it looks like it should be right up my street. You know, an intelligent rapper from Compton, in Los Angeles, where, you know, that has produced so much talent over the years. He's got a lot to say. The music, you know, he's into progressive music styles. He's got a whole host of special guests on this album that are, you know, fairly mouth-watering. You know, there's a collision of styles on here, of, you know, mainly jazz, funk and soul. Everything about this album on paper says this is going to be great. And the majority of the world seems to think it's great. Kendrick Lamar had visited South Africa and sort of toured around the country, visiting various historical sites and just spending time there, soaking up the culture and the people. And one of the sites included Mandela's jail cell on Robben Island. This basically sent Lamar back with, you know, all the kind of inspiration and artistic drive that he needed to write and record to Pimp a Butterfly. I did have high hopes for my enjoyment of the album as well. Kicking off with Wesley's Theory, it's an absolute throwback to 70s funk, even featuring George Clinton and Thundercat, and a really cool way to get things going. One of the main problems that I have with the album becomes apparent as soon as track 2. For Free has a free jazz workout going on under it, which is obviously hard to flow in any way lyrically, but it's almost as if, and this is a recurring thing, it's almost as if in a lot of the material on this, Lamar's not listening to what the track is doing underneath. You know, I come from you know, a school of listening to hip hop where the rappers are masters at listening to the flow of the track and locking in with it, or, you know, doing, you know, sort of going up against the flow of the track and sort of locking in on in an opposite form, if that makes sense. Whereas this is just so, I mean, I've read that some people think this album is erratic and dense. I mean, those are two things that are not usually, you know, just, I wouldn't use them in a negative way when talking about music, but with this album, it just is for me. It really is, and that's a great. I mean, the track U, just the letter U, that's another one that's just not listening to. I mean, he might as well just do a spoken word or a poetry album for a lot of it. I mean, sure, there's King Kunta, which that is, you know, that's one of my favorite tracks. It was a single, which I can see why, and it's just, you know, you don't have to be traditional and staid, but there's also certain ways to do things that just maybe keep people engaged. I don't know though. I know that there is a lot of fans and a lot of traction with this progressive hip hop that is kind of, you know, centered around sort of what Drake's doing, especially what Kanye's doing, what Kendrick Lamar's doing. But it seems to me like this progressive hip hop is just more about sort of throwing as many things in the mix as possible, and just making it as sort of jumbled and complicated as possible. And that then means, oh well, it's not just like your normal sort of hip hop record. It's got all these extra things in it, so it must be progressive, and I'm just not buying it. It's not all moaning and groaning from me, though. I mean, Lamar is clearly technically a fantastic rapper. The way that he builds his lines and verses, phrases them and structures them is absolutely wonderful, and you know, cannot be sniffed at. Someone that I'd spoken to, a friend of mine who actually is a more of a fan of modern hip hop than I am, said that his favourite track off this album was The Black of the Berry, which I think was the second of the 5 singles off this album. And yeah, to me, you see, that's kind of going back to my school of the kind of hardcore drum beats, and it feels much more like a gangster rap track, so I was going to enjoy it. And obviously the way that the lyrics are delivered sort of lock in with the flow. But again, that's maybe been a bit unfair, because obviously having grown up listening to Ice Cube, Ice-T, NWA, Naughty by Nature, those guys were, you know, pioneers and had a real style that is perhaps unfair, but it's jaded me when it comes to a lot of modern hip hop. Which is not to say that I'm not going to not, you know, give it all a fair chance, because obviously that's what I do, you know. But it was tough. It was tough. I do also really like at the end of the last track, Mortal Man. His clear and obvious idol is Tupac, and he is having a conversation with Tupac that he's kind of pulled from an interview, an old interview of Tupac, and sort of overdubbed him asking the questions that preempt what Tupac says. I'm going to park this one there, guys. I've pulled out what I can positively about it, and hopefully put across why I didn't enjoy this album. I know very much so, no one has to tell me from the homework I've done, that I'm very much in the minority, and you know, Kendrick Lamar's critical acclaim is speaks for itself. I can see why this album is held in the regard that it is, but yeah, tried, just wasn't feeling it this time, guys. So anyway, that's it for this one. Stay rad.